The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter. Hello and welcome to Politics with GA. The Nigerian Senate has passed a bill amending the Electoral Act. The bill was passed on Tuesday after Senator Sulaiman Nazif, chairman of the Committee on INEC, presented a report on the floor of the Senate. In August, President Muhammadu Buhari rejected the bill because of some issues the lawmakers failed to address during the revision to the bill. After addressing the concerns of the president, the bill was reintroduced and subsequently passed. Senate President Bukola Saraki had asked the committee to take note of the observations made when the bill was deliberated upon to be passed the second time. While presenting the report, Senator Nazif said the issues raised by the president had been captured and addressed. Clause 14 amends Section 49, subsection 4 of the Act that deals with the failure of a card reader. It says, where a smart card reader deployed for accreditation of voters failed to function in a polling unit and a fresh card reader is not deployed 3 hours before the close of elections in that unit, then the election shall not hold but rescheduled and conducted within 24 hours, provided that where the total possible votes from all the affected card readers in the unit or unit does not affect the overall results in the constituency or election concerned. The lawmakers were accused of removing this clause. Clause 24 amends Section 87, subsection 13 of the Act deals with the deadline for primary elections. The report said that the dates of the primary polls shall not be earlier than 150 days and not later than 90 days before the date of the election to the elective offices. Clause 32 amends Sections 140, subsection 4 of the Act that deals with the omission of name of candidate or logo of a political party. It states that if at the point of display or distribution of ballot papers, a candidate or an agent's name or logo is omitted, the candidate will notify the Commission and it shall rectify and fix another date not later than 90 days. The bill also pegs spending limits for presidential, gubernatorial, senatorial and House of Representatives candidates at 5 billion naira, 1 billion naira, 250 million naira and 150 million naira respectively. The senators passed the amendments after a clause-by-clause consideration of the bill. We wait to see if this bill will get the presidential assent this time around and be passed into law. The Lagos State Governor, Akinwumi Ambode, has promised to lead a strong campaign for the victory of President Muhammadu Buhari and Babajide Sanwo-Olu, the governorship candidate of the All Progressive Congress in the state. Addressing reporters at the presidential wing of the Murtala Mohammed International Airport shortly after he accompanied President Buhari to perform the official commissioning of the new economic community of West African states, ECOWAS Semekrake joint border post in Badagry, Governor Ambode said it is important for the APC to retain its leadership positions both at the federal and state levels. He said, I want to use this opportunity to let Lagosians know that we are heavily committed to the re-election of Mr. President, and you can see that his continuous visit to Lagos reiterates the fact that he is actually a lover of Lagos State, and I'm committed to ensuring his re-election. We're going to campaign heavily for him. I'm also committed to ensuring that the APC wins the governorship elections come 2019. We support the candidacy of Babajide Sanwo-Olu and will make sure that the APC retains Lagos State and the centre. It will be recalled that during a World Press Conference less than a month ago, Governor Akinwumi Ambode accused the APC gubernatorial candidate Babajide Sanwo-Olu of not being fit for office.
Party leaders and even party members have been misled to understand that this is a better candidacy than myself. I have done everything in the last 3.5 years to serve people selflessly and to serve the poor. This particular aspirant, as you all know, you can go and check it, the records are there. This is somebody that has been arrested for spending fake American dollars in a nightclub in America. And he's been detained for months. And he knows that he has won mock shots for months before this whole thing was quenched. He's also known that he doesn't have the competence to do what he's being propelled to do. The records are there in Gbadebo General Hospital. This is somebody that has gone for rehabilitation before.
I wonder what has changed. I guess, like they say in politics, there are no permanent friends or enemies, only permanent interests. The Director General of the National Orientation Agency, Dr. Gbenga Aborowa, has urged the police and other security agencies to be fair and neutral to all political parties during the 2019 elections. In his keynote address at a conference organized by the Center for Democracy and Development on the Electoral Corruption and Integrity in Nigeria in Abuja, he said, achieving electoral integrity in Nigeria is a task that requires collective responsibility of all Nigerians, particularly critical stakeholders. According to the DG, we cannot talk of democratic consolidation in Nigeria if elections are not integrity-driven in terms of being free, fair, credible, transparent, and violence-free. Parties to the electoral process must perform their duties with the highest level of efficiency, responsibility, and transparency. It said that the police, as a critical stakeholder in the electoral process, should maintain law and order and ensure there's a social environment that is germane for peace and conducive for electoral activities to take place, adding that the police and all the security agencies must be seen to display the highest level of neutrality and treat all political parties with equality. He further said INEC must provide a level playing field for all political parties and sustain the current momentum in the planning and preparations for elections. Security agencies have often in the past been accused of being biased towards the ruling party. The governor of Sokoto State, Alhaji Aminu Tambuwal, says the National Assembly needs more funds to be able to discharge its responsibilities effectively. The former Speaker of the House of Representatives said his argument might be unpopular, but inasmuch as Nigeria operates a presidential system of government, the funding of the National Assembly remained meager. The governor added that for the committees of the National Assembly to work effectively, more money must be allocated. The constitutional responsibilities of the National Assembly are enormous, especially in the areas of lawmaking and oversight. Adequate financial resources are required for the Assembly to be able to discharge these responsibilities effectively in line with public expectations, said the governor of Sokoto State. He went further to say, I am sure this may not go down well with a large percentage of the populace, but we cannot run away from the fact that the National Assembly requires more funding. Nigerians have been demanding a slash in the budget of the National Assembly, which has remained a subject of controversy. The legislature got 150 billion naira on an annual basis between 2011 and 2015. It was reduced to 115 billion naira in 2016 following public outcry, but raised to 125 billion in 2017 and 139 billion in 2018. The governor was indeed right when he said he is sure that his proposal will not go down well with Nigerians, maybe because Nigerian legislators are some of the highest paid in the world. The Speaker of the Lagos State House of Assembly, Mr. Mudashiru Obasa, has said there is no plan to impeach Governor Akinwumi Ambode. Mr. Obasa, who stated this during Monday plenary of the Assembly, said those that said he threatened to initiate impeachment proceedings against the governor if he failed to open the state's treasury were imagining things. He said this allegation is frivolous and misleading. We need to clear the air on this fabrication that has been making the rounds both online and other media platforms that the Assembly is planning to impeach the governor. He said for now, the House is not planning to impeach Governor Ambode, and if this will happen, it has to be done the right way. He said, we do not need wailers to tell us how to go about our legislative duties. We're not planning to impeach Governor Ambode, and even if the House is planning to do that, it won't be done in secrecy, as impeachment is constitutional and democratic. Mr. Obasa, however, said there was nothing of such for now, as the House was working hand in hand with the governor to move the state forward. So, what does the Honourable Speaker mean by no plans to impeach the governor for now? Are there plans of an impeachment in the future? What is the current state of relationship between the governor and the Lagos State House of Assembly? I spoke with Mr. Gbadebo Rhodes Vivour, the People's Democratic Party's senatorial candidate for Lagos West Senatorial District, on the state of Lagos and other issues. You have a degree from the University of Nottingham in the United Kingdom and a master's from MIT. You could have gotten a well-paid job anywhere in the world, but you decided to join the murky waters of Nigeria politics.
Yes.
Why the interest in politics?
Well, I feel that we talk too much, we complain too much, and politics affects everybody and touches your lives. Even if you're not interested in politics, politics is interested in you. And it's going to determine the quality of healthcare you're getting, the quality of education from a primary to secondary level, even to a tertiary level. Even if it's not for you because you can afford to send your kids abroad or afford to go abroad yourself, it will affect the quality of employees that you have to be able to run your business, the capacity for you to be operating at a high level that you're supposed to. And politics affects your standard of living, your quality of life, the amount of time you spend on the road, going home, coming back home, spending time with your kids. All of these things are directly tied to the quality of representation that you have and the quality and capacity of the people that you selected to represent you. And also your capacity to also hold them to question and hold them to the ideals and the promises that they made on the campaign trail. So politics concerns us all, and I think the more people that are involved, the better for all of us.
And you believe that participating and that contesting for elected position is the best way you can
it's the way that comes to me. I've always been sort of a leader. I mean, from high school, I was student council president. I participated in that election. I've always been at the forefront of things, generally. And I'm not someone that sits back and complains. I generally tend to get up and do something about things that I feel passionate about. But I don't think contesting is the only way to be involved. Just appearing at ward meetings and making contributions to discourse and dialogue there goes a long way. Being able to stand behind a candidate, whether you're just printing posters or you're even just encouraging them or going on rallies with them or helping with organization, all of these things make impact. Being able to write articles and expand the knowledge base of the citizenry is also making impact as well. So there are many ways.
Now, there are a few Nigerians that share your concerns and will do the same, but they say the atmosphere is different, that politics, especially at the grassroots level, where it's dirty, people are always fighting, there's a lot of bickering going on, it's all about sharing of money and all of that. I want you to set the record straight, because you have the experience. You've contested for local government chairman of Ikeja. In the past, you've done house to house, door to door campaigning. You're a man on the ground.
Yes.
What would you say to people like that?
I think that, it's all...
And what's the true situation of things, and how do you...
The true situation of things is always relative to the particular place, relative to the particular power dynamics of that place. So my experience has been opposition parties, because I'm not happy with the status quo, so I'm drawn to opposition parties, whether it's Kowa Party, where I ran for local government chairman, or PDP, where I'm currently the candidate for the Senate. It's opposition. And that has its own dynamics. But before anything, I feel that it's the attitude you bring to the table that determines the experience that you have. If you want to go and see things that are ready-made and it's a structure, like a corporate structure where you just slide in and everything, then you have no business going into politics. You have no business going there. The most important thing is you need to have empathy for people. You need to be able to spend time with people. You need to be able to understand that their feelings, their need to express themselves, and the things that are important to them, their priorities, are important. I need to listen. You need to make time. You need to sacrifice your time. And I think a lot of people see through fakeness. A lot of people see through your agenda. And when if you're not sincere, and people see sincerity, they see sincerity, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't understand. In this race that I just finished, there were some people that were complaining that they went to see some leaders, and leaders were telling them that, go and buy me a land, I want to build a house, and things like that. And they would get so angry. But then I would say, nobody else told me that. Nobody has told me that. You know, you solve problems. People like you. People are also looking for a good representative. A lot of their...
So it's a myth to say the Nigerian electorate is not sophisticated and all they want is, you know, handouts.
I cannot say that it's a myth. 70% of this country in this state are living in abject poverty. And a lot of them feel that politics is the only access that they can have to power or the connection to power. So they get involved and they come for meetings and they volunteer their time and all of that. And you need to oil that machinery. A lot of these people are not earning salaries. Think about it. If you are calling for a ward meeting at 4 o'clock on a Wednesday, and this person is going to give 5 hours of their time, they're not earning a salary. And there's no social safety net or social welfare net that these people can lean on. So the realities on ground make the need for you to be able to handle problems and take care of problems almost become the safety net for these people that you want to represent.
Now let's talk about your journey to the Senate, to your Senate candidacy. You're from a different crop of politicians, a new generation of politicians raring to go. You contested the chairmanship of the Ikeja local government under Kowa Party, and now you've joined the PDP. People's Democratic Party. Some have said you're playing the same politics of your ideology of the last generation. Because in less than 2 years, you've moved to PDP. What is your answer to that?
I think that, as far as I'm concerned, my own personal opinion, there's no party that has ideology in this country right now. No, it's true. You have to think about what ideology means. Ideology is an idea that we all subscribe to. And then when you're in a position of power, you stay true to that idea and that ideology. The level of our democracy and the level of our existence as a country has not allowed those kind of ideas and ideals to flourish. Our needs are still so basic. People are still talking about water, light, power. Exactly. You know, and the ideology, the higher things, the higher thinking of politics is not something that you see happening in any of the National Assembly. That's why anybody can just leave any party and wake up. And the fact of the matter also is that democracy as we practice it, we've copied and pasted it here, but there are things that are supposed to be underneath it that allow for that kind of thing to flourish and exist and thrive, right? Like we just said, a social safety net where institutions, credit facilities in banks that allow for you to be a graduate and come out and get a loan to be able to pay a mortgage. Those kind of systems create a citizenry that you don't need to collect handouts from politicians.
So the quality of life, basically, equals to the quality of governance and democracy.
Yes, they're hand in hand. They're tied together. You know, it's like a chicken and egg kind of situation.
You have quite an interesting story, and your meteoric rise, you might not want to admit it as a meteoric rise, but I will tell you, you've emerged as the senatorial candidate for Lagos West People's Democratic Party. Lagos West Senatorial District is the largest senatorial district in Nigeria.
10 local governments.
How I mean, you've done one bit.
Yes.
There's one more hurdle to
Yes.
pass.
Yes.
Why do you want to go to the Senate?
Yes.
And why do you think you're the one that should represent Lagos West there?
I do not think I was the one. I ran and they selected me, so now I'm the one. Right. I feel that the National Assembly, we need to change the narrative. We need to change the narrative that is a retirement home for former governors. We need to change the narrative that you need to have accumulated so much wealth to go there and express yourself and also craft policy. And I also feel that we need fresh faces and fresh ideas to get into the Senate, because policy making is literally the planning for potentially the next generation. And we make up the largest voting bloc, and it's very important that youth are represented in the Senate. Also, I feel that we need to elevate the quality of discourse, and there need to be people that can stand up and try to form consensus on solving problems that affect our lives day to day.
But the Senate is not an executive position.
No, it's not.
You as yourself
Yes.
cannot drive policy.
Let me
You need
give
consensus.
exactly.
So how do you
but
plan
let me give you an
to go about
example
it? Yes.
now. So in Lagos West, a very major problem is these tankers on the road. Right, it's a major problem. In places like Jeremy, you come out and there's a tanker in front of your house, and it's queuing and it's just replaced by another tanker. And these things affect the quality of life, right? Now, in the Senate, you need to build a consensus with all the other senators from the Southeast and the South-South. We also push a bill to allow for appropriation for expansion of port services for Kados and several other places in the South.
So they
South-South.
divert pressure
So they
off
divert pressure from here.
Lagos.
A governor cannot do that. Somebody has tried, but clearly has failed, because when you go to Jeremy, from Jeremy, Oshodi, Solo, all the way down to parts of Ojo, you still have these problems, right? So we need to be able to have that kind of consensus, that kind of push, the kind of push that would ensure that Lagos can independently produce power and see to it that it's facilitated, and also encourage through policy sustainable use of energy, recycling of energy, and things that can allow for you to get tax credits. You know, so Lagos starts to have a very unique tax system and tax code, not just double taxation that we're experiencing currently in the state.
And the people would see that.
Yes, it's transparent and it's done in a way that people can actually cash in on these tax breaks.
Now, I've done a bit of investigative journalism,
Okay.
and I can tell you for a fact that
Yes.
you're not on the Forbes list.
No, I'm not.
As one of the billionaires. And
Yeah.
politics, I mean, the logistics of it, the funding, the ability to get your message across
Yeah.
does take a lot of money.
Yes.
And when Nigeria, money is a big deal.
Exactly.
How do you plan to fund your campaign,
Yes.
and how do you plan to cross this hurdle?
I think politics more than anything is about leadership, and leadership more than anything is about resourcefulness. Being able to see problems and think laterally on solving these problems. First of all, like I said, we come from a huge voting bloc. The idea of raising funding from that voting bloc is not something that's out of this world, right? If you have 100,000 people giving you 5,000 naira each a month, that is solid money, right? So that's one, and just tap into a network of friends, tap into a network of Lagosians in Lagos that are tired of the status quo, that are looking for freedom, right? Because we need freedom in Lagos State, freedom from bad roads, Badagry Express Road, Oshodi Express Road. We need freedom to be able to get jobs, freedom from unemployment, freedom to create highly skilled labor force, vision, freedom to have a vision that's not controlled by just one man, right? So there are a lot of people that are going to buy into this idea, and they're going to put their money where their mouth is. And money has never been something that I'm worried about. I mean, the local government election that we ran, we raised money for it. And I feel that if people see that you're bringing value, they will key into it. And you know that my election is not just my election. There's a House of Rep that's coming on that same day. There's the presidential coming up on that same day. So we are all going to pool funds to ensure that, you know, we can achieve maximum advantage.
Finally, as we inch towards the 2019 elections, what are your expectations?
Well, INEC has shown in the last two elections, Ekiti and Osun, that they can potentially be very biased. So we're going to work taking that into consideration and put things and plans in place to ensure that we're not cheated of our mandate. We're also going to work with the people, a lot of door-to-door campaigning, selling our mandate and selling our candidacy and our ideas to get the people to buy into it. So you are voting for the people's senator. It's your person. So you're going to take a lot of responsibility to ensure that nobody is making any funny figures on that day at your polling booth. You're going to supervise and make sure that nobody is running away with ballot boxes and things like that. So we're going to be working with the people because it's going to be a very people-powered campaign.
Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan demanded Saudi Arabia officials reveal the whereabouts of Mr. Khashoggi's remains after the Saudi government admitted Jamal Khashoggi has been murdered, albeit in a fistfight with officials inside the consulate in Istanbul. Speaking before the Turkish parliament on Tuesday, President Erdogan said the evidence we have so far collected indicated that Jamal Khashoggi was slain in a vicious, violent murder planned in advance by the Saudi Arabian government. Turkish sources have maintained from the start that Mr. Jamal Khashoggi was tortured, killed and dismembered inside the consulate and claimed to have audio recordings of the journalist's final minutes alive. According to President Erdogan, the individuals named by Saudi Arabia as suspects in the murder are also the same as those identified by a Turkish investigation. Ankara is now particularly interested in the claim that a Turkish party was involved in the disposal of Jamal Khashoggi's body after the murder and wants to bring that person to justice. But it was up to the Saudis to identify this local co-conspirator, the Turkish leader argued. The United States President, Mr. Donald Trump, said he was not yet satisfied with Riyadh's fistfight story, but said he will not halt lucrative arms deals with Saudi Arabia. President Trump said that the United States will consider other things and possibly sanctions. Thanks for watching Politics with GA. Until next time, I'm Gbenga Aborowa. The political decisions people make will affect many lives. Many people see politics as the government and the laws being made. While that is true, it's way more complicated than that.
I don't know what type of procedure is this.
Some of you may be aspiring to positions of leadership in the political arena.
And I accepted full responsibility.
But the question is, why do you want to lead?
It has everything to do with you. Every law that is made will impact many. Sometimes the decisions do affect people negatively. Therefore, it's very important to note that every vote that you cast will either break or make people. Politics with GA brings you the latest political news as well as insight and analysis as we discuss the most important issues that matter.